Across the galaxy, an unseen current of energy unites every living thing, shaping destinies and guiding fate. Yet something has torn through that sacred balance. An entity not born of the Force, but of humanity's unyielding fight against extinction. Its arrival came in fire and thunder, blazing through the skies above Tatooine's endless deserts. The anomaly registered on no scanner. Imperial sensors detected nothing. Even Force sensitives across the sector felt only a momentary disturbance, a ripple in the cosmic order that vanished as quickly as it appeared. But the inhabitants of Mos Eisley saw the truth. A burning streak of emerald energy tearing across the twin suns' glare, followed by an impact that shook the desert 20 kilometers from the spaceport. The crash site formed a perfect crater in the dune sea, glass smooth where superheated sand had fused into obsidian. At its center lay a figure in forest green armor, half buried in cooling sand. The armor bore scorch marks and battle damage from conflicts no one in this galaxy could comprehend. Plasma scoring from Covenant weapons, scratches from Flood combat forms, and the distinctive wear of someone who had fought for humanity's survival across a dozen worlds. Master Chief Petty Officer John-117 remained motionless for 3 hours. His Mjolnir Mark VI armor systems cycled through emergency diagnostics, shield capacitors slowly recharging from the catastrophic slipspace rupture that had torn him from his universe. Inside the helmet, his vitals remained steady. Pulse elevated but controlled. Augmented physiology already adapting to the slightly higher oxygen content and different atmospheric composition. When his eyes opened, the first thing he saw was unfamiliar constellations through his cracked HUD display. "Cortana," he said quietly. "Status." Static crackled through his neural interface for 3 agonizing seconds before the AI's voice responded, strained but functional. "Chief, we're not in Kansas anymore, or the Milky Way, or any galaxy I have in my databases." Her avatar flickered into view on his HUD, a woman composed of light, currently rendered in fragmented blue pixels as she restored herself from backup partitions. The slipspace rupture didn't just move us. It threw us through something else. Dimensional barriers, maybe. The Forerunner artifact wasn't just a weapon. It was a door. Chief pushed himself upright, servo motors in his armor whining softly. His motion tracker showed no contacts within 200 meters, but years of combat instinct made him draw his MA-5D assault rifle anyway. The weapon's familiar weight brought a small measure of comfort. He conducted a quick inventory: rifle, magnum sidearm, 2 fragmentation grenades, combat knife, and half his normal ammunition load. His energy shields had held through the crash, already regenerating to full capacity. "Where are we?" he asked, scanning the horizon. 2 suns hung in an alien sky. The desert stretched endlessly, punctuated by rock formations and what looked like the skeletal remains of some massive creature half buried in sand. "Working on it," Cortana replied, her voice gaining strength as her system stabilized. "I'm picking up electromagnetic transmissions. Primitive compared to UNSC standards, but definitely technological civilization, multiple languages, but the translation matrices are odd. There's a common trade language I'm already cracking. Give me 10 minutes and I'll have full comprehension." Chief began walking toward the largest concentration of electromagnetic signatures, the spaceport settlement his armor's long-range sensors detected on the horizon. Each step left deep impressions in the sand, his half-ton armor and enhanced physique making him far heavier than any normal human. The twin suns beat down mercilessly, but his armor's thermal regulation kept him comfortable. "Chief, I'm intercepting communications," Cortana said suddenly. "Military frequencies." There's a garrison in that settlement, soldiers serving something called the Galactic Empire. From what I'm parsing, this doesn't sound like the good guys. Context? Execution orders, forced labor, systematic oppression of non-human species. The linguistic patterns match every fascist regime in human history. She paused. They're also discussing a weapon called the Death Star, a space station capable of destroying entire planets. Chief, if even half of what I'm hearing is accurate, we've landed in the middle of a tyranny that makes the Covenant look subtle. Master Chief crested a dune and saw Mos Eisley sprawling before him. A chaotic jumble of domed buildings, landing pads, and cantinas. Alien species he'd never seen before moved through dusty streets. Stormtroopers in white armor patrolled in squads of 4. Their movements undisciplined compared to ODSTs, their weapons held casually rather than at tactical ready. Initial assessment? He asked. They're soldiers, but not warriors. Cortana replied. Look at their formation spacing. No overlapping fields of fire. They're an occupying force grown complacent. Chief, I think we can work with this. He found cover behind a rock formation and observed the settlement. Spacecraft he didn't recognize lifted off and landed. Sleek vessels that clearly used some form of faster-than-light travel different from slip space. Energy weapons, not ballistic. A different technological paradigm, but one his Spartan tactical training could adapt to. We need intelligence, Chief said. Find out where we are, who runs this empire, and if there's any resistance we can contact. Already on it. But Chief, we should keep a low profile. We don't know the rules here yet. Master Chief checked his rifle's ammunition counter and began moving toward Mos Eisley's outskirts. Somewhere in this strange galaxy, there were answers. And if the Empire was truly as tyrannical as Cortana's intercept suggested, there would also be a fight. He'd spent his entire life fighting for humanity's survival. In this galaxy far, far away, the mission hadn't changed, only the battlefield. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The twin suns began their descent as the Spartan approached civilization, his armor's active camouflage systems still offline from the crash. He would enter Mos Eisley as he'd entered 100 battlefields before, carefully, methodically, and ready for anything. The galaxy was about to learn what a Spartan could do. The outer perimeter of Mos Eisley offered exactly what Master Chief needed. Chaos. Moisture farmers haggled with Jawa scavengers over droid parts. Spacers argued about docking fees. A Rodian and a Trandoshan nearly came to blows over a gambling debt before bystanders separated them. In the confusion of a frontier spaceport, one more armored figure might go unnoticed long enough for reconnaissance. Chief moved through the narrow alleyways between buildings, staying in shadows where his green armor blended with the rust and grime of aging structures. His motion tracker painted a real-time picture of foot traffic, civilians mostly, with occasional patrol patterns from the white-armored soldiers. Stormtroopers, Cortana had identified them. Infantry units of this Galactic Empire. I'm into their local networks, Cortana reported. Security is laughable by UNSC standards. No AI oversight, no adaptive firewalls, just basic encryption. Chief, their computer systems are decades behind ours, maybe centuries in some areas. I can move through their networks like a ghost. What are you finding? This planet is called Tatooine, Outer Rim territory, barely policed except for Imperial tax collection and anti-smuggling operations. The Empire controls most of the known galaxy through fear and military might. They dissolved some kind of democratic republic about 19 years ago. Her avatar appeared on his HUD, more solid now, arms crossed analytically. There's also something called the Force. It's referenced constantly but inconsistently. Some kind of mystical energy field? The Empire hunts anyone who can use it. Mass executions of a religious order called Jedi. Chief paused at an intersection, his motion tracker showing 6 contacts approaching from the left. Stormtroopers on patrol. He pressed against the wall, watching them pass. Their armor looked ceremonial rather than practical. No energy shielding that he could detect. Ceramic or plastoid composition, designed to deflect glancing shots but not absorb direct hits. Their weapons were energy-based rifles, crude compared to Covenant plasma technology, but effective enough against unarmored targets. One trooper laughed at something his companion said. Undisciplined, overconfident. These weren't hardened soldiers like the ones Chief had fought beside for decades. They were an occupation force that had forgotten how to fight a real war. "I need supplies," Chief said once they'd passed. "Weapons, ammunition, intel on local power structures. Where's the black market?" "You're standing in it," Cortana replied. Mos Eisley is basically one giant criminal enterprise with Imperial oversight. The cantina 3 blocks ahead is a known meeting point for smugglers, bounty hunters, and information brokers. But Chief, you're going to stand out. That armor isn't exactly local fashion. I've negotiated with Sangheili shipmasters and prophets. I can handle a criminal cantina. Those are 7-foot-tall aliens with energy swords. These are... Actually, some of these species make Sangheili look normal. Okay, maybe you'll fit in. Chief approached the cantina carefully, his enhanced hearing picking up the sounds of alien music in multiple languages before he reached the entrance. 2 Gamorrean guards flanked the door, porcine humanoids carrying vibro axes, their small eyes tracking him with surprising alertness as he approached. He could take them both in under 3 seconds if necessary, but violence would draw attention he couldn't afford yet. The cantina's interior assaulted his senses, even through his helmet's filters. Dozens of species packed the space, some humanoid, others decidedly not. The air reeked of alcohol, smoke, and pheromones his armor's sensors couldn't fully classify. A band played discordant music on a raised platform. Conversations overlapped in a dozen languages, though Cortana's real-time translation began feeding him comprehensible dialogue. Heard the rebels hit an Imperial convoy near Dantooine. 3,000 credits for a simple smuggling run to Alderaan. Jabba's paying double for anyone who can bring in that moisture farmer's kid. Every head turned when Chief entered. Conversations died. Even the band faltered for a moment before resuming their performance. A Duros trader whispered to his Rhodian companion. A human smuggler's hand drifted toward his blaster. A Wookiee at the bar growled something that Cortana translated as curious rather than threatening. Chief walked to the bar with measured steps, his armor's servo motors purring softly. The bartender, a human with a scarred face and cybernetic eye, stared at him with the expression of someone who'd seen everything the galaxy could offer and was now questioning that assessment. "We don't serve droids," the bartender said flatly. "I'm not a droid." Chief's voice emerged through his helmet's external speakers, calm and authoritative. "I need information. Information costs credits. You got credits?" Chief reached into one of his armor's compartment pouches and withdrew something that made the bartender's cybernetic eye whir in surprise. A small Forerunner data chip, its surface covered in glowing symbols. Cortana had suggested it might have value as unknown alien technology. "I have technology. Willing to trade for local currency and intelligence on Imperial operations in this sector." The bartender leaned closer, studying the chip with professional interest. Never seen anything like that. Where'd you get it? Somewhere you've never been. Chief kept his posture relaxed but ready. His motion tracker showed 3 contacts behind him, adjusting their positions. Potential threats, repositioning for better firing angles. I'm new to this system. I need a guide who knows how things work, someone discreet. Discreet costs extra. The bartender pocketed the chip with practiced speed. But I know someone who specializes in helping strangers disappear or reappear somewhere more profitable. He gestured toward a corner booth where a Twi'lek woman sat alone, her blue skin marked with scars that suggested a violent past. Chief nodded and turned toward the booth. Behind him, the 3 contacts relaxed slightly. Not enemies, just cautious criminals maintaining situational awareness. The Twi'lek watched him approach with calculating eyes. You're either the bravest fool I've seen walk into this cantina, or the most dangerous. That armor suggests the latter. I need information on Imperial military infrastructure, Chief said, settling into the booth with controlled precision. Garrison locations, patrol patterns, command structure, and any active resistance movements. She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. You're either Rebel Alliance or suicidal, maybe both. Her expression shifted to serious appraisal. Information like that costs more than credits. The Empire doesn't forgive information brokers who help insurgents. Chief, I'm picking up increased Imperial comm traffic, Cortana interjected privately. Someone reported an unknown armored figure entering the cantina. We've got maybe 5 minutes before stormtroopers arrive to investigate. Chief leaned forward slightly. Then we'll have to make this quick. I have technology your Empire hasn't seen before. Advanced weapons, tactical data, and capabilities that could change the balance of power in this sector. I'm looking for partners, not servants. Are you interested? The Twi'lek's eyes widened slightly, not with fear, but with the gleam of someone recognizing opportunity. Partners. She tested the word. I like that better than employer. Name's Sivara. I run supplies for the rebellion when the price is right, and I've been doing it long enough to know when someone walks in who could actually make a difference. She extended a hand across the table. Welcome to Tatooine, stranger. Let's talk business before the Empire crashes your introduction party. Master Chief shook her hand, noting the calluses of someone who knew their way around weapons. Call me Chief. Outside, the sound of repulsor engines and marching boots announced the Empire's arrival. 8 stormtroopers entered the cantina with the confidence of men who'd never faced real resistance. Their squad leader's voice crackled through his helmet's external speaker. Imperial security inspection. Nobody moves. The cantina's patrons responded with practiced indifference. Drinks continued flowing, conversations dropped to murmurs, and several aliens pointedly studied their beverages. This wasn't their first Imperial intrusion, and cooperation meant survival. Chief remained seated across from Sivara, his posture relaxed, but his mind already calculating angles, distances, and threat assessment. 8 targets. E-11 blaster rifles, standard issue. Poor tactical spacing, they'd entered in a cluster rather than establishing overlapping fields of fire. The squad leader pointed directly at Chief's booth. You, the one in the armor. Stand up slowly and identify yourself. Sivara's hand drifted toward the blaster on her hip. Chief caught her eye and gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head. Not yet. I'm a traveler, Chief said, rising to his full height. At 7 feet in Mjolnir armor, He towered over every human in the cantina. "I haven't broken any laws." "We'll determine that. Remove your helmet." "Chief, their scanners can't penetrate your armor," Cortana whispered through his neural interface. "They don't know what you are. But if this goes loud, we're looking at the entire garrison responding. Approximately 200 troops within a 5-minute response radius." The squad leader raised his rifle. "I said remove your helmet. That's an order." Chief had spent 30 years following orders. He'd also spent 30 years knowing when orders were tactical liabilities. These stormtroopers weren't his commanders. They served a tyrannical empire that, according to Cortana's intelligence, had dissolved democracy, committed genocide against Force users, and ruled through fear. They reminded him of the Covenant's brutes, cruel, undisciplined, and overconfident. "No," Chief said simply. The cantina went absolutely silent. Even the band stopped playing. Savara's hand froze halfway to her weapon, her expression caught between shock and admiration. The squad leader's rifle barrel never wavered. "Last chance. Comply or we take you into custody by force." Chief's motion tracker showed all 8 troopers now aiming at him. Standard Imperial doctrine would be to stun first, kill only if necessary. They wanted him for questioning, which meant they'd fire to disable. He'd survived worse. "Cortana, I need exit routes and Imperial response patterns. Back door through the kitchen leads to a service alley. But Chief, if you engage Imperial forces, we're committing to a fight with an entire galaxy-spanning military. We committed the moment we crashed here. These people need to know the Empire isn't invincible. Then let's make it educational." The squad leader's patience expired. "Fire! Stun setting." 8 E-11 blasters discharged simultaneously, blue stun rings converging on Chief's position. His Mjolnir shields flared brilliant blue as they absorbed the energy. Technology designed to withstand Covenant plasma fire laughed at the primitive stun bolts. The cantina erupted in panicked shouts as patrons dove for cover. Chief moved. His enhanced reflexes made the stormtroopers appear to move in slow motion. He crossed the 3 meters to the nearest trooper in less than a second, his armored fist driving into the man's chest plate with enough force to crack the plastoid and send him flying backward into 2 of his companions. They collapsed in a heap. The squad leader switched his rifle to lethal setting and fired. Red blaster bolts screamed toward Chief's center mass. His shields absorbed the first 3 shots, flickering but holding. The 4th shot he simply sidestepped with inhuman speed, watching it burn a hole through the wall behind him. Chief grabbed the barrel of another trooper's rifle and yanked, pulling the man off balance. His knee came up, catching the trooper in his helmet with enough force to shatter the visor. The man crumpled. "Requesting backup," the squad leader shouted into his comlink. "We have a hostile, heavily armed, and extremely dangerous." Chief's magnum cleared its holster faster than human eyes could follow. One precisely aimed shot destroyed the squad leader's comlink in a shower of sparks. The 2nd shot took out his rifle. The 3rd removed his knee armor, sending him sprawling with a scream of pain. 4 troopers remained standing, and they'd finally realized they were facing something far beyond their training. One turned to run. Chief led him. Fear would serve as a better message than another casualty. The remaining 3 opened fire in a desperate salvo. Chief's shields dropped to 30% under the sustained barrage, warning indicators flashing on his HUD. He dove behind the bar, using the Durasteel surface as cover while his shields regenerated. "Savara," he called out. "If you're coming with me, move now." The Twi'lek woman had used the chaos to dispatch 2 stormtroopers herself, with precise blaster shots to their unarmored joints. She vaulted over a table with surprising agility and joined Chief behind the bar. I take it subtlety isn't your specialty. It is when it works. Chief's shields recharged to full capacity. A 5-second regeneration that would seem miraculous to anyone watching. He rose from cover and fired his magnum twice more. 2 headshots. 2 stormtroopers down. The last remaining trooper dropped his weapon and raised his hands. "Don't shoot! I surrender!" Chief approached him with his rifle trained on the man's center mass. "How many garrison troops in Mos Eisley?" The trooper's voice shook. 200, plus an ATST walker and a communication relay station. Please, I'm just following orders. Wrong answer. Chief struck him with the rifle stock, and the trooper collapsed unconscious. Not dead. Chief didn't kill surrendered enemies unless they remained threats. Cortana, what's our tactical situation? Imperial communications are going crazy. They're deploying the ATST and mobilizing all available units. We have approximately 2 minutes before this entire district is locked down. Her avatar appeared on his HUD, gesturing toward the kitchen. Service exit is still clear, but we need to move. Chief turned to Sivara, who was staring at him with a mixture of awe and calculation. You just assaulted 8 Imperial stormtroopers and survived without a scratch. That armor of yours, what is it? Military grade. You wanted to see if I could make a difference. Consider this a demonstration. He gestured toward the kitchen. Unless you'd rather explain to the Empire why you were sitting with me. She grinned, a fierce expression that reminded Chief of every Marine he'd ever fought alongside. I was going to retire next year. Figured I'd go out doing something boring like smuggling spice. She checked her blaster's charge pack. This seems more interesting. Lead the way, Chief. They moved through the kitchen as terrified staff scattered. The back exit opened onto a service alley, exactly as Cortana had mapped. Chief's motion tracker showed dozens of contacts converging on the cantina from multiple directions. The Imperial response was swift and overwhelming. Chief, that ATST is moving to block our exit route, Cortana warned. Those things are 2-legged armored assault platforms with anti-personnel cannons, designed to suppress urban resistance. Then we'll need to suppress it first. Chief's tactical mind was already formulating the plan. Sivara, where can we get heavy weapons? The Twi'lek pointed toward a warehouse 2 blocks away. Jabba's armory, but that's protected by his enforcers, and the Hutt doesn't forgive theft. We're not stealing, we're borrowing. Chief began moving through the alley, his armor's active camouflage finally coming back online after its repair cycle completed. Sections of his armor shimmered and adapted to match the surrounding environment, not perfect in visibility, but enough to blur his outline. By the Maker. Sivara breathed. What are you? A soldier, Chief replied. And this Empire is about to learn what that means. The sound of the ATST's mechanical footsteps echoed through Mos Eisley's streets, a harbinger of Imperial retribution. But Master Chief had fought walking tanks before. Hunters, wraiths, scarabs. This galaxy's war machines would be no different. The mission was just beginning. The ATST's mechanical roar preceded its arrival by 30 seconds, enough time for Chief and Sivara to reach the warehouse's exterior. The 2-legged walker stomped into view at the end of the street, its head-mounted blaster cannons sweeping for targets. Imperial stormtroopers followed in its wake, using the walker as mobile cover while they established a perimeter around the Cantina district. They're locking down a 4-block radius, Cortana reported. Systematic search pattern. They'll reach this warehouse in approximately 8 minutes. Chief studied the ATST through his helmet's zoom function. The walker stood roughly 9 meters tall, its armored cockpit housing 2 pilots. Twin heavy blaster cannons flanked a lighter chin-mounted weapon. The legs were armored but showed obvious articulation points, weak spots designed for mobility at the cost of protection. Standard anti-armor doctrine applied. Disable mobility, eliminate crew, secure asset. Savara, I need you to get inside that warehouse and find me something with explosive capability. Rockets, grenades, thermal charges, anything that can penetrate armor. The Twi'lek picked the warehouse's security lock in 12 seconds, her fingers moving with practiced expertise. Jabba's going to put a bounty on my head for this. Add it to mine. Chief positioned himself behind a rusted speeder, his active camouflage making him nearly invisible against the urban decay. Cortana, can you hack that walker's control systems? Not remotely. Their technology doesn't have wireless connectivity in the way we'd expect. Everything's hardwired or short-range encrypted. I'd need physical access to their network. She paused. But Chief, I'm picking up something interesting. Imperial communications are using unencrypted channels for tactical coordination. Their operational security is non-existent. I can hear everything they're planning. Tell me. They've designated you as a priority target. Code, unknown hostile, extreme threat. The garrison commander is requesting orbital support from a star destroyer in high orbit. ETA on that support is 30 minutes. Cortana's avatar frowned. They're also mentioning someone called Darth Vader. Apparently, he's their specialist for dealing with unusual threats. No details on who or what that is, but the troopers sound terrified of him. Chief filed the information away. 30 minutes before orbital assets arrived. Plenty of time. Savara emerged from the warehouse carrying a crate that looked heavy enough to require a loader droid. She set it down with a grunt. Jabba stocks for every occasion. I found thermal detonators, a rocket launcher with 4 shots, and something the Rhodians call a proton grenade. No idea what that does, but the warning label has a skull on it. Chief opened the crate and assessed the contents. The rocket launcher was crude compared to UNSC weapons. A simple tube with magnetic accelerator and contact detonator. The thermal detonators were essentially shaped charges with timers. Effective, but primitive. He selected 2 thermal detonators and the rocket launcher, distributing them across his armor's magnetic attachment points. When I engage the walker, use the chaos to get to the spaceport. Find a ship and prep it for immediate departure. You're going to fight that thing alone? I've fought worse. Chief's tone carried the absolute certainty of someone who'd faced down scarabs in Covenant cruisers. Get to the ship. That's an order. Savara studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Dock 17? There's a modified YT-1300 freighter I've had my eye on. Owner's a smuggler who owes me a favor. She hesitated. Don't die, Chief. You're the first interesting thing that's happened to this dust ball in years. She vanished into the alleyways with the practiced ease of someone who knew every shadow in Mos Eisley. Chief waited until his motion tracker confirmed she'd cleared the area, then turned his attention to the approaching ATST. The walker had reached the cantina, its pilots using external loudspeakers to broadcast surrender demands. Stormtroopers were dragging patrons out for questioning, lining them against walls while officers barked interrogation protocols. Chief activated his comm. Cortana, broadcast on Imperial frequencies. Let's give them something to focus on. Channel open. You're live. Chief's voice echoed through every stormtrooper's helmet in the district. Imperial forces, this is Sierra 117. You're looking for me. I'm at coordinates, Mark 77, Warehouse District. Come alone or send your walker. Either way, you're not leaving with prisoners. The effect was instantaneous. The AT-ST pivoted toward his position with surprising speed, its cannons tracking toward the warehouse. Stormtroopers abandoned their prisoners and formed up behind the walker, advancing in a loose formation that would have gotten them killed in any real military engagement. Chief, you just painted a target on yourself for 200 angry soldiers and one very large walker, Cortana observed. That's the idea. Can't consume a galaxy without making an impression. The AT-ST opened fire. Twin blaster cannons lit up the warehouse's facade, superheated bolts punching through corrugated metal and stone. Chief was already moving, his enhanced speed carrying him out of the kill zone before the first shot landed. The building erupted in flames behind him. He sprinted toward the walker at full speed, closing the distance while its pilot struggled to track his movement. Stormtroopers opened fire with their E-11s, red bolts converging on his position. His shields absorbed the impacts, dropping to 60% before regenerating. At 20 meters, Chief activated the rocket launcher. The weapon's targeting reticle was basic. No smart tracking, no friend or foe identification, just simple crosshairs. He aimed for the AT-ST's left leg joint and fired. The rocket screamed across the distance and detonated against the walker's knee articulation. Armor plating buckled, hydraulic fluid sprayed, and the entire leg seized. The AT-ST lurched violently, its pilots fighting to maintain balance. Chief discarded the empty launcher and armed a thermal detonator. He threw it with enhanced strength, the device sailing in a perfect arc to land directly beneath the walker's damaged leg. 5 seconds later, the explosion severed the limb completely. The AT-ST toppled with a grinding crash of metal, its remaining leg unable to support the massive weight. The cockpit smashed into the street, viewports shattering. Stormtroopers scattered as the walker's momentum carried it through 2 buildings before it finally came to rest in a cloud of dust and debris. Chief approached the wreckage with his rifle raised. The cockpit hatch was jammed shut, the pilots inside alive but trapped. He could hear their panicked communications through Cortana's intercepts. Mayday, Mayday, walker down, we need immediate extraction. All units converge on hostile position, authorization for lethal force. Chief maglocked the second thermal detonator to the walker's fuel cell housing. Then he turned and ran. The explosion turned the AT-ST into a spectacular fireball that lit up Mos Eisley's afternoon sky. Stormtroopers dove for cover as flaming debris rained down across the district. The blast wave shattered windows 3 blocks away. Chief, that got their attention? Cortana said with something approaching admiration. Imperial Command is in full panic mode. They're pulling units from across the city to box you in. Good. Keeps them focused on me instead of Savara. Chief's motion tracker showed contacts converging from all directions. Time to move. Plot me a route to Dock 17, maximum speed, minimum contact. Routing, got it. But Chief, this is going to be tight. They're establishing checkpoints at every major intersection. Then we go through the minor ones. He activated his sprint mode, servo motors in his legs, amplifying each stride, until he was covering ground at speeds no unaugmented human could match. Buildings blurred past as he navigated the maze of Mos Eisley's back alleys, his motion tracker painting real-time enemy positions. A patrol of 6 stormtroopers emerged from a side street directly in his path. Chief didn't slow down. He crashed through them like a battering ram, his armored shoulders sending bodies flying. One trooper managed to fire. The shot pinged harmlessly off Chief's recharged shields. Dock 17 ahead, Cortana announced. Sivara's already aboard the freighter. She's prepping engines now. Chief burst onto the landing pad, where a battered YT-1300 freighter sat with boarding ramp extended. Blaster fire erupted from the direction he'd come. Reinforcements had spotted him. He returned fire with his Magnum, 3 precise shots that dropped 3 stormtroopers, then sprinted up the ramp. "Go!" he shouted. The ramp sealed behind him as the freighter's engines roared to life. Through the cockpit viewport, Chief could see dozens of stormtroopers flooding onto the landing pad, firing uselessly at the departing ship. Sivara sat in the pilot's seat, her hands flying across unfamiliar controls. "This ship handles like a drunk bantha, but it'll get us out of atmosphere. Where are we going?" Chief settled into the co-pilot's chair, his armor barely fitting in the space designed for normal-sized beings. "Away from here. Cortana, what's our pursuit situation?" 3 TIE fighters scrambling from the Imperial garrison. They'll intercept us in 90 seconds. Her avatar appeared on the ship's holographic display, looking far more comfortable in the primitive computer system than she should. "But Chief, I'm in their network now. I can see their entire tactical infrastructure. Command codes, patrol routes, garrison locations across the sector. The Empire's security is a joke." The freighter punched through Tatooine's atmosphere, twin suns falling away below. Ahead, 3 TIE fighters screamed toward them in attack formation, their distinctive twin-ion engines howling through the vacuum. Chief's hands moved across the weapon controls, familiarizing himself with the turret systems. How do these guns work? Quad laser cannons. Point and shoot, but they pack a punch. Sivara threw the freighter into an evasive roll as green laser fire lanced past their hull. "Try not to get us killed." Master Chief had never piloted a starfighter or manned ship-based weapons in combat. But he'd coordinated with dozens of Pelican pilots and longsword fighters across 30 years of war. The principles were the same: lead the target, anticipate movement, fire when the solution was optimal. He squeezed the firing controls. Quad lasers hammered one of the TIE fighters, overwhelming its unshielded hull. The fighter exploded in a brief flash of light. "Chief, did you just shoot down a TIE fighter on your first try?" Sivara's voice carried genuine shock. "Lucky shot," he replied, already tracking the second fighter. "Cortana, can you jam their targeting systems?" "Already done. They're flying blind." The remaining TIE fighters broke off their attack run, confused by their malfunctioning sensors. Sivara punched the hyperdrive controls, and the stars stretched into lines as the freighter jumped to light speed. In the sudden silence of hyperspace travel, Sivara turned to Chief with an expression mixing respect and disbelief. "You destroyed an Imperial walker, fought off 200 stormtroopers, and shot down a TIE fighter in less than an hour." She laughed, a slightly manic sound. "The rebellion is going to want to meet you." Chief removed his helmet, revealing his scarred face for the first time. "Then let's give them something worth meeting. Cortana, analyze everything you pulled from Imperial networks. I want targets, command posts, supply depots, communication relays, places where one strike team can cause maximum disruption." The AI's avatar smiled. "Chief, I think you're going to like what I found. The Empire is enormous, but it's also fragile. They rely on fear and overwhelming force, not tactical flexibility. We hit them where they're weak, and the whole structure starts cracking." Sivara studied the warrior sitting beside her. This stranger from another galaxy who'd just declared war on the most powerful military force in known space. "You're serious about this? About fighting the Empire?" "I've spent my life fighting tyrants who wanted to exterminate humanity," Chief replied. This empire destroys planets and hunts down anyone who disagrees with them. Different galaxies, same war. He met her eyes. The question is whether you're serious about helping me consume it. The Twi'lek's grin widened. I think I'm going to enjoy this partnership. Through the viewport, hyperspace streamed past in brilliant blue tunnels of light. Somewhere ahead, the rebellion fought a desperate war against overwhelming odds. They were about to get the reinforcement they'd never expected. The freighter emerged from hyperspace near a desolate asteroid field in the Polis Massa system. Sivara had chosen the location carefully, far from Imperial shipping lanes, monitored only by automated sensors that Cortana had already spoofed. It gave them time to breathe, plan, and assess what Chief had started on Tatooine. Imperial HoloNet is going insane, Cortana reported, projecting intercepted transmissions across the cockpit's displays. Your headline news across the Outer Rim. Unknown armored assailant destroys Imperial assets. Terrorist attack on Mos Eisley garrison. They're calling you everything from a rogue experiment to an alien assassin. Chief studied the tactical data Cortana had extracted during their escape. The Empire's network architecture was sprawling but poorly secured, a bureaucratic nightmare with security protocols that assumed dominance rather than prepared for infiltration. Military deployments, supply chain logistics, even classified research projects lay exposed once you knew where to look. What's the Empire's command structure? He asked. Cortana brought up organizational charts. Emperor Palpatine at the top, absolute authority, no oversight. Beneath him, regional governors control sectors. Military operations are divided between the Imperial Navy and Stormtrooper Corps. Then there's this. She highlighted a separate branch. Imperial Intelligence. They operate independently, answer only to the Emperor, and they're already investigating you. Let them investigate. Chief zoomed in on a star system labeled Scarif. What's this facility? Imperial Security Complex. Classified research storage, military engineering projects, and a planetary shield gate that controls access. According to these files, they keep critical technical data there. Construction records, prototype schematics, strategic analysis. Cortana paused meaningfully, including complete architectural plans for something called the Death Star. Sivara's head whipped around. The Death Star is real? I thought that was just a rumor to keep systems in line. It's real, Cortana confirmed. And it's nearly operational. A battle station the size of a small moon with a super laser capable of destroying planets. The Emperor's ultimate weapon to enforce compliance through absolute terror. Chief had seen genocide before. The Covenant's glassing of reach, the Flood's consumption of entire worlds, the Forerunner's activation of the Halo Array. This Death Star represented the same philosophy, victory through extinction. The rebellion would need those plans, he said quietly. Any weakness in that station's design would be critical intelligence. There's more. Cortana pulled up a separate file. I found records of a project called Stardust, references to a flaw deliberately engineered into the Death Star's reactor system. The engineer who designed it apparently sabotaged his own creation. She looked at Chief with concern. But Scarif is one of the most heavily defended facilities in the Empire. Shield gate, orbital defense platforms, multiple star destroyers on station, and an entire garrison of elite shore troopers. Every fortress has a weak point. Chief had infiltrated Covenant holy cities, Forerunner installations, and flood-infested nightmare scapes. Imperial security would be no different. But we need allies. Sivara, how do I contact the rebellion? The Twi'lek hesitated. The rebellion doesn't exactly have a recruitment office. They're careful about who they trust. Too many Imperial spies, too many betrayals. I know smugglers who run supplies for them, resistance cells on occupied worlds, but actual rebel command? She shook her head. That's above my access level. Then we make them come to us. Chief turned to Cortana. Can you broadcast on rebel communication channels? The codes rotate, but I've identified the encryption patterns. Give me 20 minutes to crack their current authentication, and I can put you through to their network. Chief settled back in the co-pilot's chair, his mind already formulating the approach. The rebellion would be cautious, suspicious of anyone claiming to be an ally. He needed to offer something they couldn't refuse, proof of capability and intelligence they desperately needed. While Cortana worked, Sivara brought up holographic star charts. If you're serious about hitting Imperial targets, we need to think strategically. The Empire controls through fear and infrastructure. Destroy enough of their supply lines, communication relays, and garrison posts, and systems start thinking rebellion is possible. She traced routes between star systems. But you're one soldier, Chief. Even with that armor and your AI, you can't be everywhere. I don't need to be everywhere. I need to be where it matters most. Chief studied the galactic map, identifying choke points and strategic assets. The Empire is overextended. They're occupying thousands of systems with finite resources. We force them to spread thinner, make them react instead of act. That's how you beat a larger force. Spoken like someone who's done this before. More times than I can count. Cortana's avatar reappeared triumphantly. I'm in. Rebel Alliance secure channel is open. But Chief, their encryption specifically mentions security questions to verify identity. They're going to know you're not one of their operatives. Then I'll be honest. Chief activated the communication system. This is Sierra 117 calling Rebel Alliance Command. I'm requesting contact regarding Imperial security vulnerabilities and strategic intelligence. Respond on this channel. Static filled the cockpit for 30 seconds. Then, a woman's voice emerged, cautious, professional, with the edge of someone used to paranoia being vindicated. This is Fulcrum. You're using Alliance encryption, but you're not Alliance personnel. Identify yourself and explain how you obtained our codes. My designation is Master Chief Petty Officer John-117. I'm new to this galaxy and recently had a disagreement with Imperial forces on Tatooine. Chief kept his voice calm and factual. My AI companion cracked your encryption. She's also cracked Imperial military networks. I have intelligence on garrison deployments, supply routes, and classified research facilities. I'm offering it to the rebellion in exchange for coordination and resources. A longer pause. When Fulcrum responded, her tone carried barely concealed skepticism. We've heard about Tatooine. You destroyed an ATST and killed Imperial personnel. That makes you either extremely capable or extremely lucky. What makes you think the Alliance wants to work with someone who draws that much attention? Because I can get you the Death Star plans. Absolute silence. Chief could practically hear the shock reverberating through the communication. Say that again, Fulcrum said slowly. The Death Star, the Emperor's planet-killing battle station. Complete technical specifications are stored at an Imperial facility on Scarif. I know the location, security protocols, and defensive measures. With proper support, I can infiltrate the facility and extract the data. Chief leaned forward. But I'm not doing it for glory or credits. I'm doing it because empires that destroy planets need to be stopped. Your rebellion understands that. So do I. Another pause, then muffled conversation in the background. Fulcrum consulting with someone off-channel. When she returned, her voice carried cautious hope. The Alliance leadership will want to meet you. Face to face, in person. We don't commit resources based on anonymous promises. Agreed. Name the location. Yavin 4. It's a moon in the Gordian Reach sector. Our primary base is hidden in ancient temples there. But be warned, you'll be met by armed guards, and if this is an Imperial trap, you won't leave alive. Understood. Transmit coordinates. The communication ended. Sivara looked at Chief with something approaching awe. You just volunteered to break into one of the Empire's most secure facilities to steal plans for a weapon that nobody believed existed. And you've been in this galaxy for less than a day. Cortana, how long until we can reach Yavin 4? The AI calculated quickly. Approximately 6 hours at this ship's hyperdrive rating. But Chief, we need to talk about Scarif. Even with your armor and my infiltration capabilities, the odds don't matter. The mission does. Chief stood, his armor's servos adjusting to the movement. The Empire built a weapon that can destroy planets, billions of lives at the Emperor's whim. If there's a weakness in that design, the Rebellion needs to know. You sound like you're planning to go in alone, if necessary. Chief checked his remaining ammunition. 17 rounds for his Magnum, half a magazine for his rifle. He'd need to acquire more weapons before any serious operation. But the Rebellion has resources. Soldiers, ships, intelligence networks. If they're willing to commit to the operation, I'll work with their team. Sivara set course for Yavin 4, the Navy computer calculating the hyperspace jump. For what it's worth, Chief, I think you're either the bravest person I've ever met or the craziest. Maybe both. I'm just a soldier doing what needs to be done. The freighter jumped to hyperspace, leaving the asteroid field behind. Through the swirling blue tunnel of faster-than-light travel, Chief stood at the viewport, watching the impossible physics of this galaxy's technology bend space itself. Cortana, analysis. What are we really up against? The AI's avatar appeared beside him, her expression serious. The Galactic Empire controls approximately 70% of the known galaxy. Millions of worlds, quadrillions of beings, and military assets that dwarf anything the UNSC ever fielded. Star destroyers alone are kilometer-long capital ships with firepower equivalent to entire fleets. The Death Star is orders of magnitude beyond that. And the Rebellion? Outgunned, outmanned, and operating on desperation. They win through guerrilla tactics and hope. She looked at him. Chief, you've fought impossible odds before. But this isn't one battle or one war. This is a galaxy-spanning conflict against an enemy that treats planets like ammunition. Then we give the Rebellion something they've been missing. Chief's reflection stared back at him from the viewport. A Spartan who'd saved humanity from extinction, now standing in an alien galaxy facing a new tyranny. We give them proof that the Empire can bleed, that their superweapons can be destroyed, that one soldier who knows what they're doing can change everything. And if they don't believe you, then I'll show them. 6 hours passed in planning. Cortana analyzed every scrap of intelligence on Scarif, guard rotations, shield gate protocols, data storage security. Chief inventoried his equipment and assessed what additional gear he'd need for deep infiltration. Sivara shared what she knew about Rebel Alliance operations, their leadership, and their desperate situation. When the freighter emerged from hyperspace above Yavin 4, they were greeted by a sight that reminded Chief of every desperate military outpost he'd ever seen. The jungle moon hung in space like a green jewel, its surface covered in massive temples that predated any current civilization. Hidden among those ruins, the rebellion made its stand. "Chief, I'm picking up multiple targeting locks," Cortana warned. "X-wing starfighters, modified freighters, and what looks like Corvette-class capital ships. They're ready to blow us out of space if we make one wrong move." Fulcrum's voice crackled through the comm. "Unknown freighter, transmit clearance codes and prepare for escort to landing zone. Any deviation from assigned flight path will be considered hostile action." "Transmitting codes now," Savara replied, her hands steady on the controls despite 4 starfighters flanking their ship. The escort guided them through the jungle canopy to a landing pad, carved into ancient stone. As the boarding ramp lowered, Chief saw dozens of rebel soldiers surrounding the freighter, humans and aliens alike, wearing mismatched armor and carrying weapons ranging from military grade to improvised. But their eyes held something Chief recognized immediately. They were fighters who'd seen too much death, but refused to surrender. At the front of the welcoming party stood a woman in practical flight gear, a blaster on her hip and suspicion written across her face. Behind her, a Mon Calamari officer in an admiral's uniform watched with calculating intelligence. Chief descended the ramp with his helmet on, rifle mag-locked to his back. Posture non-threatening but ready. Savara followed, her hands visible and empty. The woman stepped forward. "I'm Captain Cassian Andor's intelligence contact. The Alliance leadership wants to hear your proposal." Her eyes scanned Chief's armor with professional assessment. "But first, you're going to answer a lot of questions." Master Chief stood on alien ground, surrounded by rebels fighting a war against impossible odds. It reminded him of every desperate defense, every last stand, every moment when victory seemed impossible. But surrender wasn't an option. "Ask your questions," he said. "Then let's talk about how to destroy the Death Star." The rebel base inside Yavin 4's ancient temple was a study in controlled chaos. Technicians worked on aging equipment held together with improvisation and hope. Pilots in orange flight suits huddled around tactical displays, planning missions with insufficient resources. Soldiers cleaned weapons that had seen too many battles. Everything about the base screamed desperation, masked by determination. Chief recognized it immediately. He'd seen it on Reach, on Earth during the Covenant invasion, in every human stronghold that refused to break even as extinction loomed. These rebels understood what it meant to fight when losing was the only logical outcome. They led him through corridors carved by a long-dead civilization, now repurposed with cables, lighting, and military infrastructure. Rebel soldiers stared as he passed. The armored giant who'd appeared from nowhere, claiming he could steal the Empire's most classified secrets. Some expressions showed hope. Others showed the cynicism of people who'd seen too many promises fail. The war room was a converted temple chamber, its walls covered with holographic displays showing Imperial fleet movements and contested systems. Around a central table stood the people who led this impossible rebellion. Mon Mothma, a human woman whose calm authority reminded Chief of Captain Keyes. Admiral Akbar, the Mon Calamari, whose tactical mind was evident in how he studied the strategic displays. General Dodonna, an aging human whose experience showed in every calculated glance. And Bail Organa, a senator whose presence suggested the rebellion's political dimensions. "Master Chief," Mon Mothma began, her voice carrying the weight of someone used to making decisions that cost lives. "You've made quite an impression. The Empire has designated you a priority threat. They've placed a substantial bounty on your head and deployed additional forces to Tatooine to investigate. She gestured to a chair, standard-sized, inadequate for someone in Mjolnir armor. "Please sit. Tell us who you are and why we should believe anything you've claimed." Chief remained standing. "I'm a soldier from another galaxy. My ship, or what passes for a ship in my reality, was destroyed in transit. I crashed on Tatooine with my AI companion and limited equipment. Within hours, I assessed the situation. A tyrannical empire ruling through fear, a resistance movement fighting for freedom, and a superweapon designed to annihilate planets." He met Mon Mothma's eyes. "Where I come from, I fought a war against an alien coalition that wanted to exterminate humanity. We were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing extinction. We won because we refused to surrender and because we hit the enemy where it hurt most. Your situation isn't that different." Admiral Akbar's large eyes studied Chief carefully. "You claim to have infiltrated Imperial networks, that you possess intelligence on Scarif and the Death Star project. The Empire's security is formidable. How did you accomplish this?" "Cortana," Chief said simply. His AI's avatar materialized above the conference table, her sudden appearance causing several rebel officers to reach for weapons. Cortana looked around with interest. "Relax. I'm not a threat, unless you work for the Empire." She turned to Akbar. "Your encryption is adequate for biological intelligence analysts. For an AI with processing capabilities centuries beyond your current technology, it's trivial. I've been inside Imperial military networks, their supply chain databases, and their classified research archives. Want proof?" She projected data across the room's displays. Detailed Imperial fleet deployments, garrison strengths, officer rosters, even personal communications between regional governors. Information the rebellion would have sacrificed teams to acquire, displayed casually as a demonstration. The room went silent. General Dodonna leaned forward, his tactical mind clearly racing through implications. "This intelligence, if it's accurate, it changes everything. We've been operating half-blind for years, guessing at Imperial strength and disposition." "It's accurate," Cortana confirmed. "I'm also tracking their communications in real time. Would you like to know what they're saying about you right now?" "Spoiler, they're not happy about the attack on Hoth Station you conducted 3 days ago." Bail Organa exchanged glances with Mon Mothma. "She knows about Hoth. That operation was classified even within our own ranks. Your security is better than the Empire's," Cortana allowed. "But not good enough. Don't worry, I'm on your side. The enemy of tyranny is my friend, and the Empire definitely qualifies as tyranny." Chief brought the conversation back to focus. "Scarif, tell me what you know about it." General Dodonna pulled up holographic displays of the Scarif system. "It's an Imperial security complex housing the Empire's most sensitive research and military engineering data. The entire planet is protected by a shield gate, an orbital station that generates an impenetrable energy barrier. Nothing gets through without clearance codes and Imperial authorization. The facility itself is defended by shore troopers, AT Act walkers, TIE fighters, and at least 2 Star Destroyers on permanent station." He looked at Chief skeptically. "Even if your intelligence is accurate, infiltrating Scarif would require a full-scale military assault. We don't have those resources." "You don't need a full assault," Chief replied. "You need a small team with the right capabilities. Infiltration, not invasion." "One does not simply infiltrate Scarif," Admiral Akbar said flatly. "The shield gate alone makes orbital insertion impossible. Any ship attempting to breach the shield without authorization would be destroyed before entering atmosphere. Then we get authorization. Chief turned to Cortana. Imperial clearance codes. Can you forge them? Already done. I pulled a valid Imperial cargo shuttle designation from their database, the SW0608, currently registered as destroyed in a rebel attack 6 months ago. As far as Imperial records show, that shuttle no longer exists. We use its identification, generate new clearance codes based on their current encryption patterns, and we become invisible. Mon Mothma studied Chief with renewed interest. You're proposing to steal an Imperial shuttle, use forged credentials to pass through the shield gate, land on Scarif, infiltrate their data vault, and escape with the Death Star plans, all without the Empire realizing what's happened until it's too late. That's the basic outline, Chief confirmed. The key is speed and precision. Get in, acquire the target, get out before they can organize a response. I've conducted similar operations dozens of times. Against the Empire? Dodonna asked. Against enemies just as dangerous. The Covenant had security measures that made Imperial protocols look primitive. I survived. Bail Organa cleared his throat. Even if this plan could work, and I'm not convinced it can, why would you risk your life for our cause? You're not from this galaxy. You have no stake in our fight. Chief was quiet for a moment, remembering the glassed surfaces of human colonies, the refugees fleeing Covenant attacks, the billions who died before humanity learned to fight back. Because I've seen what happens when people don't stand against tyranny. Where I come from, we waited too long to recognize the threat. Millions died before we fought back effectively. Your empire is building a weapon designed to destroy planets, to rule through the ultimate expression of terror. If someone doesn't stop them, entire civilizations will be erased. He looked around the room. I'm a soldier. Stopping threats like this is what I do. Mon Mothma and her council exchanged long looks. Silent communication born from years of desperate decisions. Finally, she nodded. If you can truly deliver the Death Star plans, it could change the course of this war. We've heard rumors of the station's existence, but we've had no concrete intelligence, no way to counter such a weapon. She straightened. The Alliance will support your operation. We'll provide a team, a ship, and whatever resources you need. But understand, if you fail, we lose more than the mission. We lose the hope those plans represent. I don't plan to fail, Chief said simply. Admiral Akbar stepped forward. I'm assigning Captain Cassian Andor to lead the Alliance team. He's our best intelligence operative, experienced in infiltration, extraction, and working behind enemy lines. His team includes soldiers who've proven themselves in impossible situations. I work alone, Chief stated. Not on this mission. Mon Mothma's tone brooked no argument. This is an Alliance operation. Captain Andor's team knows Imperial protocols, facility layouts, and has experience working together. You bring unprecedented capabilities and intelligence. Together, you might succeed where either would fail alone. Chief assessed the political reality. The rebellion was committing resources based on his word. They needed assurance their personnel would have control. Command by committee was inefficient, but he'd worked with Marine units and ODST teams enough to know how to integrate external operators. Agreed. But tactical decisions in the field are mine. I've fought battles your people can't imagine. When things go wrong, and they will, you follow my lead. Acceptable, Mon Mothma said. General Dodonna will coordinate the overall operation. Captain Andor will brief his team and integrate you into their structure. You launch within 48 hours. The meeting concluded with the efficiency of people who'd learned to make life or death decisions quickly. As the leadership dispersed to begin preparations, a man approached Chief. Human, mid-30s, with the cautious eyes of someone who'd survived by trusting no one completely. Captain Cassian Andor. He introduced himself. I understand you're the one who destroyed Imperial assets on Tatooine single-handedly. I had help, Chief replied, gesturing toward where Savara stood near the entrance, being questioned by rebel intelligence officers. Still impressive. I've been fighting the Empire for 15 years. I've never seen anyone walk away from a confrontation with a full garrison. Andor studied Chief's armor. That technology, it's nothing like anything in Imperial or Rebel arsenals. Where exactly are you from? Somewhere far from here. Chief wasn't ready to explain the full truth of dimensional travel and alternate universes. What matters is stopping the Death Star. Andor nodded slowly. We'll assemble the team tonight. Infiltration specialists, technical experts, soldiers who can handle themselves when plans fall apart, which they always do. You'll meet them at 600 hours. He paused. I need to know, are you doing this for the Alliance, or do you have your own agenda? Chief had heard similar questions from officers who didn't know whether to trust the Spartan program's super soldiers. His answer remained the same. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. The Empire is wrong. Your rebellion is trying to stop them. That makes us allies. Good enough. Andor extended his hand. Welcome to the Alliance, Master Chief. They shook hands, the grip of two soldiers who understood what the coming mission would cost. As Chief left the war room with Cortana's avatar hovering beside him, the AI spoke quietly through his neural interface. Chief, I've been analyzing Scarif's defenses in detail. Even with perfect infiltration, the data vault is protected by physical and electronic security that will require on-site hacking. I can do it, but I'll need time. And time is the one thing we won't have once the Empire realizes we're there. Then we make sure they don't realize until it's too late, Chief replied. Assemble everything you have on Scarif. Guard rotations, facility layout, security protocols, escape routes. I want to know that base better than the people who built it. Already done. Chief, this mission is risky even by your standards. One mistake and we're trapped on an Imperial fortress world with no support and no way out. Then we don't make mistakes. He found quarters assigned to him, a small room that barely accommodated his armor when he finally removed it for the first time since crashing on Tatooine. His reflection in the polished metal showed a face marked by decades of warfare, scars that told stories of battles that would sound like myths in this galaxy. But those battles had prepared him for exactly this kind of mission. Scarif was just another fortress. The Death Star plans were just another objective. The Empire was just another enemy. And Master Chief had never failed a mission that mattered. Through the window, Yavin 4's jungle stretched beneath unfamiliar stars. Somewhere beyond this moon, the Empire built its ultimate weapon. In 48 hours, Chief would begin the operation that could save billions of lives. The galaxy was vast. The Empire was powerful. But they'd never faced a Spartan before. The Imperial shuttle light of Coruscant drifted toward the Scarif shield gate, its engines burning with the steady, predictable rhythm of standard Imperial approach procedures. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension, a stark contrast to the calm, methodical movements of the man at the controls. Master Chief's hands moved across the console with an efficiency that came from Cortana's real-time guidance, not experience. In the co-pilot's seat, Cassian Andor monitored Imperial comms, his face a mask of professional calm that did nothing to hide the alertness in his eyes. "Approaching shield gate perimeter," Chief stated, his voice flat through his helmet's external speaker. "Remember, confidence is our clearance," Cassian murmured, more to himself than anyone. "They expect obedience, not explanation." In the main hold, the rest of the hand-picked team conducted final equipment checks. K2SO, Cassian's repurposed Imperial security droid, stood with unnerving stillness, his photoreceptors scanning the bulkhead. 4 rebel commandos in stolen Imperial shore trooper armor checked their E-11 blasters, the white plastoid feeling alien and flimsy compared to the Mjolnir armor that dominated the space. "Transmitting clearance codes now." Cortana's voice chimed through the cockpit speakers and Chief's neural link simultaneously. "Let's see if they bought the refurbished cargo shuttle story." A moment of static, then a bored Imperial controller's voice crackled over the comm. "Shuttle SW06 right, you are cleared for approach. Transmit cargo manifest and destination." "Transmitting," Chief replied. Cortana had fabricated a manifest full of mundane replacement parts for the planetary defense grid. The kind of shipment that was too boring to scrutinize. The silence that followed stretched for a heart-stopping 20 seconds. Cassian's hand drifted subtly toward the blaster at his hip. Chief's finger rested near the thruster controls, ready to slam them forward into a desperate, suicidal dash if needed. Then the controller returned. "Codes verified. Proceed to landing pad Delta 7. Maintain approach vector." The colossal shield gate loomed before them, a ring of unimaginable scale, energy crackling across its center to form a barrier that could repel a fleet. As they passed through, the shimmering blue energy washed over the viewport, and the lush blue-green sphere of Scarif opened up below. "We're in," Cassian breathed, a fraction of the tension leaving his shoulders. "The hard part starts now," Chief said, guiding the shuttle into the atmosphere. Their landing on pad Delta 7 was unremarkable. Just another logistics delivery on a world dedicated to Imperial bureaucracy and security. The moment the ramp lowered, the humid, salt-tinged air of Scarif washed into the shuttle. Chief led the way, his green armor a stark anomaly amidst the sea of white shore trooper uniforms. Their cover story was that he was a new, specialized piece of equipment, an experimental combat droid being field-tested. It was thin, but the Empire's love for secret projects worked in their favor. "Cortana, you have the layout?" Chief asked subvocally. "Imprinted and ready. The data vault is in the central Citadel tower. Main entrance is a no-go. We'll need to access the secure data conduit on the lower levels. It's a maintenance shaft, less guarded, but it will still require a physical connection for me to bypass their air gap security." Cassian's team fell into a loose perimeter around them as they moved, their stolen armor letting them blend in for now. K2SO's presence helped sell the ruse. An Imperial droid escorting a special asset was a common sight. They moved through the bustling Imperial complex. Officers and technicians hurried about their duties, paying them little mind. The sheer scale of the operation was impressive. Gleaming towers, endless landing pads, the constant roar of shuttlecraft and TIE fighters. It was a monument to Imperial power and order. "First checkpoint ahead," Cassian warned quietly. "Just act like you belong." 2 shore troopers stood guard at the entrance to a tram line that led toward the Citadel. One held up a hand. "Authorization?" K2SO stepped forward. "We are escorting a classified asset to Citadel Tower for diagnostics. Clearance level Gamma." The droid's blunt, Imperial program tone was perfect. The trooper consulted a datapad. "I don't see a scheduled diagnostic for a..." "What is that?" he asked, gesturing at Chief. "It is a Mark 7 Cyclops combat automaton." K2SO lied smoothly. "Its schedule is classified above your clearance level. Are you going to delay us?" The trooper looked at his companion, who shrugged. The bureaucracy of the Empire was their greatest ally. No one wanted to be responsible for impeding a secret project. He waved them through. They boarded the tram. As it glided silently toward the towering spire of the Citadel, Cassian moved closer to Chief. "So far, so good. But the moment we try to access the vault, every alarm in the facility will go off." "That's the plan," Chief said. "Cortana needs time to download the data. Our job is to make sure she gets it." The tram doors opened into a massive lobby within the Citadel Tower. Here, the security was visibly tighter. Patrols of death troopers, the Empire's elite, moved with silent, lethal purpose. "This is where we split up," Cassian said. "My team will create a diversion at the main vault entrance. It will draw their security forces. You and K2 get to the data conduit. It's 2 levels down, sub-basement 3. Chief nodded. "Understood. Cortana, you're with me." A holographic data chip on Chief's armor interface glowed blue as Cortana transferred her active processes to a localized, portable matrix. "Ready when you are, Chief." Cassian gave a sharp nod to his team. "Good luck." "Luck is not a measurable tactical variable," Chief stated, "but I'll take it." As Cassian's team moved toward the main bank of turbolifts, loudly announcing they were there for an unscheduled security audit, Chief and K2SO found a service stairwell. They descended into the bowels of the tower, the sterile, polished halls giving way to gritty maintenance corridors. They reached a heavy blast door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." K2SO effortlessly sliced the control panel. "This is too easy," the droid remarked. "It's making me nervous." The door slid open to reveal a long, dimly lit corridor lined with massive, humming server towers. At the far end was a terminal station, the data conduit. "That's our target," Chief said. They were halfway down the corridor when a squad of 4 death troopers emerged from a side passage, their black armor absorbing the low light. There was no challenge, no questions. Their leader simply raised his blaster rifle and opened fire. Chief's shields flared as he lunged forward, closing the distance in a blur of motion. He slammed into the lead trooper, the impact crushing the man against the wall with a sickening crack of armor and bone. He grabbed the next trooper's rifle, yanking it upward as the man fired, the bolts scorching the ceiling. A sharp twist of his wrist snapped the trooper's arm. A follow-up blow to the helmet silenced him. K2SO engaged the other 2 with brutal, droid-like efficiency, grabbing one and hurling him into his companion. Chief didn't pause. He drew his magnum and fired twice. 2 precise shots. 2 helmets jerked back. The corridor fell silent, except for the hum of the servers. "I am impressed by your combat efficiency," K2SO stated, straightening up. "Let's not waste it." Chief moved to the terminal. He pulled the data chip containing Cortana and inserted it into the port. Instantly, Cortana's avatar materialized above the console, her hands flying across a holographic keyboard. "I'm in. The Death Star plans are in the main archive. Downloading now. The encryption is complex. This will take a few minutes." "We don't have a few minutes," K2SO said, looking back toward the door. "Cassian's diversion has begun." The faint but distinct sound of blaster fire and alarms echoed from the upper floors. "Cassian, status," Chief calmed. "We've got their attention." Cassian's voice was strained, punctuated by the sizzle of blaster fire. "But we're pinned down. How much longer?" "Cortana?" Chief asked. 70%. The files are massive. They've isolated the archive, trying to cut me off. I'm fighting through their counter-intrusion protocols. Suddenly, the terminal in front of Chief sparked and died. Cortana's avatar flickered. "They've cut the hard line," she reported, her voice tinged with urgency. "They're purging the archive. I've lost the connection." Chief looked at the dead terminal, then at the server towers around him. "There's another way, a direct interface." "Chief, that would require a physical connection to the primary data core," Cortana said. "It's on the other side of this wall, and it's heavily shielded." Chief turned to the wall she indicated. It was reinforced durasteel. He raised his fist, servo motors in his armor whining as he powered up. "That does not appear to be a standard Imperial procedure," K2SO observed. "It's a Spartan procedure," Chief replied. He drove his armored fist into the wall. The durasteel buckled. He struck it again and again, each impact echoing like a thunderclap through the corridor. With a final, shattering blow, he tore a hole large enough to step through. On the other side was the heart of the Citadel's data storage, a cavernous chamber dominated by a towering, crystalline data core, pulsing with light. Warnings screamed through the facility. Red lights strobed. "They know exactly where we are now," K2SO said. Taking up a position at the breach, his blaster raised. "I will hold them here." Chief didn't argue. He sprinted to the core. "Cortana, now!" He jammed the data chip directly into a service port on the core's base. Cortana's avatar reappeared, glowing with intense concentration. "Re-establishing connection. The purge is at 85%. I'm trying to salvage the data. Got it. Downloading the remaining schematics now." From the corridor outside, the sound of K2SO's blaster was joined by the sharper reports of E11's. Then the droid's voice, calm as ever. "I am afraid I'm being captured. Good luck, Master Chief." The firing stopped. Heavy footsteps approached the breach. "Cortana," Chief said, his voice low. "Almost there. Download complete. I have the plans, Chief." "I have the flaw." Chief yanked the chip free as a squad of death troopers poured through the breach, their weapons aimed directly at him. He was surrounded, the data core at his back. There was no cover, no escape. He had consumed the Empire's greatest secret. Now he had to survive long enough to digest it. The death troopers didn't fire. They held their positions, forming a perfect kill zone, their black helmets giving nothing away. They were waiting. A moment later, the reason strode through their ranks. He was a man encased in black armor of a different sort, more medieval than military. A deep, mechanized breath echoed in the chamber, each inhalation a promise of pain. The air grew cold. The very light seemed to dim as Darth Vader entered the data core chamber, his cape flowing behind him like a shroud. "You are the one who has caused such disruption," Vader's voice boomed, devoid of anything but cold, focused malice. "You will return what you have stolen." Chief said nothing. His tactical mind raced, analyzing the new threat. The armored figure radiated power in a way that was entirely alien. A pressure that went beyond physical threat and pressed against the mind itself. Cortana's voice was a whisper in his neural link. "Chief, his biosigns are impossible. He's radiating an energy field I can't quantify. It's similar to the background energy of this galaxy, but focused, weaponized. Be careful. You will not be given another opportunity, Vader stated, his hand rising. An invisible force, immense and irresistible, seized Chief and lifted him from the floor. It crushed him, compressing the Mjolnir armor in a way no Covenant weapon ever had. Alerts flashed across his HUD, structural integrity failing. He was slammed against the data core with enough force to crack the crystalline structure, then hurled across the room into the opposite wall. He hit the ground rolling, his shields flickering and failing. The impact would have pulped an unaugmented human. For Chief, it was agony, but survivable. He came up firing his magnum, the high-caliber rounds screaming toward the Dark Lord. Vader didn't dodge. His red lightsaber ignited in a humming flash of crimson, deflecting the rounds with contemptuous ease, sending them ricocheting harmlessly into the walls and ceiling. Primitive, Vader mused and gestured again. Chief's magnum was torn from his grip. He was lifted again, suspended in the air. Vader closed his hand into a fist, and the pressure intensified. Servo motors in the Mjolnir armor shrieked in protest. Chief, the suit can't take much more of this, Cortana warned. Whatever he's doing, it bypasses our shields completely. This was a power beyond technology. It was the Force, made manifest as a weapon. Chief had faced overwhelming odds before, but never an enemy who could rewrite the rules of physics with a thought. He fought against the invisible grip, his augmented muscles straining, but it was like trying to hold back a tide. You possess surprising resilience, Vader noted, a hint of clinical interest in his tone. But it is irrelevant. He began to pull Chief toward him, the lightsaber raised for a final, bisecting stroke. In that moment, the entire Citadel tower shook. A deafening roar from outside eclipsed the alarms. Through the shattered viewport, the sky was filled with the terrifying sight of a star destroyer. The Profundity, crashing into the shield gate. The rebel fleet had arrived. The impact sent a seismic shockwave through the facility. The floor buckled. Vader, caught by surprise, was thrown off balance for a fraction of a second, his concentration broken. The crushing pressure on Chief vanished. He dropped to the floor. He didn't waste the opportunity. While Vader steadied himself, Chief activated his thrusters in a short, powerful burst. He didn't aim for the Sith Lord. He aimed for the hole he'd torn in the wall, crashing through it back into the server corridor. Cassian, the plans are secure, he barked into his comm. We need an extraction. Now. Chief? We're falling back to the beach. The fleet's creating a distraction, but it's a slaughter. Get to the shore. The corridor outside was a war zone. Cassian's team, what was left of it, was fighting a desperate rearguard action against waves of stormtroopers. K2SO was gone, a pile of smoldering droid parts near the entrance. The commandos had shed their Imperial disguises and were now just rebels in a last stand. Chief emerged among them like a green avalanche. He scooped up a fallen E-11 and added its fire to theirs, his aim unerring. Each shot found a weak point in white armor. He moved with brutal economy, clearing a path. Fall back, to the elevator, he ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos with undeniable authority. The surviving rebels didn't question him. They broke contact and ran, Chief covering their retreat, a one-man suppression force. He tossed his last fragmentation grenade into a cluster of troopers, the explosion buying them precious seconds. They reached a service elevator. As the doors closed, they could hear the methodical, heavy footfalls of Darth Vader approaching from the devastated data core. The sound was more terrifying than the blaster fire. The elevator descended toward the ground level. The ride was tense, punctuated by the sounds of battle from outside and the occasional shudder as the battle in orbit raged. "The profundity is gone," Cortana reported grimly, her voice tight. "Admiral Radiss's ship. They sacrificed themselves to get us the time we needed. The shield gate is down, but the Imperial fleet is surrounding the planet." The doors opened not into a lobby, but into hell. They emerged onto a scenic landing platform that was now a killing field. The beautiful blue skies of Scarif were streaked with the fiery trails of dying starships. In the distance, the shield gate was a shattered ruin, the crashed Star Destroyer still spewing debris into the atmosphere. Between them and the beach, where Cassian said extraction would be, was a full company of stormtroopers, supported by an AT-ACT walker. Its massive cannons were systematically obliterating rebel positions along the shoreline. "We're not getting through that," one of the commandos breathed, despair in his voice. Chief assessed the situation with cold clarity. The AT-ACT was the key. It was the anchor of the Imperial line. Destroy it, and the infantry would lose their cover and their nerve. He saw a downed U-wing gunship 50 meters away, its engines smoking. "Cortana, can you get that gunship's chin cannon online?" "Remotely? Maybe. The systems are badly damaged, but the power core is still active. It'll be a manual override. You'll have to do it from the cockpit." "Cassian, lay down suppressing fire on that walker's cockpit. Draw its attention." "Chief, that thing will vaporize us." "Do it." Cassian met Chief's helmeted gaze for a second, then nodded. He barked orders to his 2 remaining soldiers. They opened up with their blasters, the red bolts pinging harmlessly off the AT-ACT's armored head, but getting the pilot's attention. The walker turned, its heavy cannons beginning to rotate toward them. Chief was already moving. He sprinted across the open ground, a blur of green against the white sand and blue water. Blaster bolts from the stormtroopers tracked him, but his speed and the chaos made him a near impossible target. He vaulted into the shattered cockpit of the U-wing. "Talk to me, Cortana." "Routing power, bypassing burnt-out conduits. Yes. The cannon has a charge, but the targeting system is fried. You'll have to aim it manually." Chief gripped the manual control yokes. Through the cracked viewport, he saw the AT-ACT, its cannons now glowing, ready to fire on Cassian's position. He heaved on the controls, physically swinging the entire gunship's nose toward the walker. "It's now or never, Chief." He fired. A sustained burst of laser fire erupted from the U-wing's chin cannon, stitching a line across the AT-ACT's neck joint. Armor plating melted away. Sparks and flames erupted. The walker's head sagged, its cannons firing wildly into the sky before the whole assembly exploded in a ball of fire and shrapnel. The massive body swayed for a moment, then crashed to the ground, crushing a squad of stormtroopers beneath it. The Imperial line faltered. "Move!" Chief roared over the comm. Cassian and his team didn't need telling twice. They broke from cover and sprinted for the beach. Chief leapt from the gunship, landing amidst the disorganized stormtroopers. He was a whirlwind of destruction, using his strength and the E-11 as a bludgeon when it ran dry. He cleared a path to the shoreline. On the beach, a single rebel corvette, the Tantai Versifor, had braved the orbital debris and was hovering just offshore, its landing ramp extended. Princess Leia Organa stood at the top, a small figure of immense resolve. Cassian and the commandos stumbled up the ramp. Chief provided cover, his back to the ship, firing at the advancing Imperials. "Chief, come on!" Cassian yelled. A new sound cut through the battle, the distinct, labored breathing. Emerging from the smoke and fire of the Citadel, ignoring the battle around him, came Darth Vader. He walked with purpose, his lightsaber lit, deflecting stray blaster bolts without breaking stride. He was coming for them, for the plans. Chief took one last look at the approaching Sith Lord, then at the Corvette. He had the data. The mission was a success. His part was over. He turned and sprinted up the ramp. Go! The ramp sealed as the Tantive Ife's engines flared, pulling away from the beach and climbing toward the scarred sky. Through a viewport, Chief watched the surface of Scarif recede. Darth Vader, a lone, black figure standing amidst the carnage, staring up at the escaping ship. They had won. They had consumed the Empire's greatest secret. But as the Corvette entered hyperspace, fleeing the system, Cortana's voice was somber. We have the plans, Chief, but he knows who we are now, and he won't stop. The Tantive Hiver shuddered as it tore through hyperspace. The blue streaks outside the viewport, a stark contrast to the grim silence within the main corridor. The survivors, Cassian, a single wounded commando, Chief, and Princess Leia, stood amidst the hum of the engines. The victory felt hollow, paid for in blood and the destruction of the rebel fleet. Leia held the physical data card Cortana had helped forge, a small, solid thing that held the fate of the galaxy. You did it, she said, her voice heavy with the cost. The entire Scarif garrison, a star destroyer. They'll be talking about this for years. They'll be hunting us for years, Cassian corrected softly, leaning against a bulkhead, his face etched with exhaustion and grief for his lost team, for K-2SO. Chief stood apart, his helmet mag-locked to his hip. His face was a mask of focused intensity, not relief. The mission isn't over. We have the diagnosis. Now we need the cure. He turned to Leia. The plans need to be analyzed, the flaw identified. That's our next stop, Leia confirmed. A remote base where our best technicians can go over the schematics. We'll find the weakness. She looked at Chief with newfound respect and a hint of wariness. The things you did down there, no one person should have been able to do that. Who are you, really? Before Chief could answer, the ship's intercom crackled. Your Highness, we're receiving a priority transmission from Yavin 4. It's Mon Mothma. Leia moved to a nearby comm station, activating the holographic projector. Mon Mothma's image flickered to life, her usual composure fractured by clear alarm. Leia, thank the Force you're safe. The Tantive Ife's transponder code was tracked exiting Scarif. Imperial intelligence has pieced together the operation. They know you have the plans. How much time do we have? Leia asked, her voice tight. None. A task force led by Darth Vader's personal star destroyer, the Devastator, is lying in wait. They're predicting your route to our secondary analysis base. You cannot go there. A cold dread settled over the corridor. They had the prize, but the Empire was already one step ahead, herding them into a trap. Cassian slammed a fist against the wall. So, it was all for nothing? We sacrificed Scarif just to be caught in deep space? Not necessarily. Cortana's voice chimed from Chief's armor, her avatar materializing beside Mon Mothma's hologram. The rebel leader started slightly, but listened intently. I've been analyzing the Imperial fleet movements you just transmitted. Their interception is based on a statistical probability matrix of where we would go. They're blocking the logical escape routes. Then what's the illogical one? Leia asked. Cortana's avatar smiled. We don't run, we attack. A stunned silence filled the room. Attack what? Cassian asked, incredulous. A star destroyer? With a consular ship? Not the Star Destroyer, Chief said, his voice low, understanding dawning. The tracker? Mon Mothma leaned forward. Explain. The Empire is methodical, Chief stated. They set traps based on intelligence. But they're also arrogant. That Star Destroyer will have its long-range sensors active, scanning for us. It will be a fixed point, a predator waiting for its prey to stumble into its web. He looked at Cortana, then back to the hologram. We don't stumble. We target the web itself. You're proposing we attack the Devastator? Leia's voice was a mixture of horror and fascination. Not to destroy it, Cortana clarified. To blind it. Their primary sensor array is a concentrated system on the dorsal hull. A precision strike could cripple their ability to track us long enough for the Tantive IV to slip away on a new, unpredicted vector. It's suicide, Cassian stated flatly. It's a tactical pivot, Chief countered. They expect a fleeing ship trying to hide. They won't expect a surgical strike from the very ship they're hunting. It's the last thing a diplomat would do. He looked at Leia. But it's the first thing a soldier would consider. Leia studied him, then the data card in her hand. She saw not just a warrior, but a strategist. If we fail, the plans are lost. The rebellion dies with us. If we do nothing, the result is the same, Chief said. This gives us a chance. Mon Mothma's image was silent for a long moment, weighing the fate of the Alliance on this single, insane gamble. Finally, she nodded. The decision is yours, Leia. You are on the scene, but know this. The entire Alliance will be waiting. Our hope is in your hands. The transmission ended. The weight of the choice settled on Leia's shoulders. She looked at the determined face of Cassian, the silent, powerful presence of the Master Chief, and the glowing, confident AI. Captain, she said to Cassian, plot a course directly for the Devastator. Maximum speed. Cassian, despite his doubts, nodded. Yes, Your Highness. As he moved to the bridge, Leia turned to Chief. How do we do this? You have escape pods? Chief asked. Yes, but modify one. Strip it down. I need it to be a missile. The Tantive Farda shuddered as it tore through hyperspace. The blue streaks outside the viewport, a stark contrast to the grim silence within the main corridor. The survivors, Cassian, a single wounded commando, Chief, and Princess Leia, stood amidst the hum of the engines. The victory felt hollow, paid for in blood and the destruction of the rebel fleet. Leia held the physical data card Cortana had helped forge, a small solid thing that held the fate of the galaxy. You did it, she said, her voice heavy with the cost. The entire Scarif garrison, a Star Destroyer. They'll be talking about this for years. They'll be hunting us for years, Cassian corrected softly, leaning against a bulkhead, his face etched with exhaustion and grief for his lost team, for K2SO. Chief stood apart, his helmet mag-locked to his hip. His face was a mask of focused intensity, not relief. The mission isn't over. We have the diagnosis. Now we need the cure. He turned to Leia. The plans need to be analyzed. The flaw identified. That's our next stop, Leia confirmed. A remote base where our best technicians can go over the schematics. We'll find the weakness. She looked at Chief with newfound respect and a hint of wariness. The things you did down there, no one person should have been able to do that. Who are you, really? Before Chief could answer, the ship's intercom crackled. Your Highness, we're receiving a priority transmission from Yavin 4. It's Mon Mothma. Leia moved to a nearby comm station, activating the holographic projector. Mon Mothma's image flickered to life, her usual composure fractured by clear alarm. "Leia, thank the Force you're safe." The Tantive IV's transponder code was tracked exiting Scarif. Imperial intelligence has pieced together the operation. They know you have the plans. "How much time do we have?" Leia asked, her voice tight. "None. A task force led by Darth Vader's personal Star Destroyer, the Devastator, is lying in wait. They're predicting your route to our secondary analysis base. You cannot go there." A cold dread settled over the corridor. They had the prize, but the Empire was already one step ahead, herding them into a trap. Cassian slammed a fist against the wall. So, it was all for nothing? We sacrificed Scarif just to be caught in deep space? Not necessarily. Cortana's voice chimed from Chief's armor, her avatar materializing beside Mon Mothma's hologram. The rebel leader started slightly, but listened intently. "I've been analyzing the Imperial fleet movements you just transmitted. Their interception is based on a statistical probability matrix of where we would go. They're blocking the logical escape routes." "Then what's the illogical one?" Leia asked. Cortana's avatar smiled. "We don't run, we attack." A stunned silence filled the room. "Attack what?" Cassian asked, incredulous. "A Star Destroyer? With a consular ship?" "Not the Star Destroyer," Chief said, his voice low, understanding dawning. "The tracker." Mon Mothma leaned forward. "Explain." "The Empire is methodical," Chief stated. "They set traps based on intelligence. But they're also arrogant. That Star Destroyer will have its long-range sensors active, scanning for us. It will be a fixed point, a predator waiting for its prey to stumble into its web." He looked at Cortana, then back to the hologram. "We don't stumble. We target the web itself." "You're proposing we attack the Devastator?" Leia's voice was a mixture of horror and fascination. "Not to destroy it," Cortana clarified. "To blind it. Their primary sensor array is a concentrated system on the dorsal hull. A precision strike could cripple their ability to track us long enough for the Tantive Ivor to slip away on a new, unpredicted vector." "It's suicide," Cassian stated flatly. "It's a tactical pivot," Chief countered. "They expect a fleeing ship trying to hide. They won't expect a surgical strike from the very ship they're hunting. It's the last thing a diplomat would do." He looked at Leia. "But it's the first thing a soldier would consider." Leia studied him, then the data card in her hand. She saw not just a warrior, but a strategist. "If we fail, the plans are lost. The rebellion dies with us. If we do nothing, the result is the same," Chief said. "This gives us a chance." Mon Mothma's image was silent for a long moment, weighing the fate of the Alliance on this single, insane gamble. Finally, she nodded. "The decision is yours, Leia. You are on the scene. But know this: the entire Alliance will be waiting. Our hope is in your hands." The transmission ended. The weight of the choice settled on Leia's shoulders. She looked at the determined face of Cassian, the silent, powerful presence of the Master Chief, and the glowing, confident AI. "Captain," she said to Cassian, "plot a course directly for the Devastator, maximum speed." Cassian, despite his doubts, nodded. "Yes, Your Highness." As he moved to the bridge, Leia turned to Chief. "How do we do this?" "You have escape pods?" Chief asked. "Yes, but..." "Modify one. Strip it down. I need it to be a missile." The Tantive I-4 recovered Chief from the void with a tractor beam, its crew working with a new, fervent energy. The story of the Spartan who had crippled a Star Destroyer's senses with an escape pod was already spreading through the ship in hushed, awed tones. When Chief stood once more on the bridge, the crew looked at him, not as a strange outsider, but as a legend made flesh. Princess Leia met him, a genuine, relieved smile, touching her lips for the first time since Scarif. You were right. They never saw it coming. We're clear, and we have a new heading, a secret research outpost on Dantooine. Our best people are waiting. The mood was victorious, but Chief felt the familiar weight of a mission's next phase. The data is the key, but it's useless without a weapon to wield it. The Empire will be fortifying the Death Star now that they know we have the plans. Our window is closing. The flight to Dantooine was tense, conducted under absolute calm silence. When they landed in a secluded grassland valley, they were met not by a military welcome, but by a small team of harried scientists and a single, aging Bothan strategist named General Riekan. "The data, Your Highness," Riekan said, his voice raspy. He took the card with trembling hands. "We've set up in the old enclave. We'll work around the clock." For the next 48 hours, the Dantooine base was a hive of focused activity. Chief remained a silent sentinel outside the analysis lab, his presence a bulwark against the anxiety that permeated the base. Cassian, his arm in a sling, often joined him. "They're in there," Cassian said, nodding to the lab doors, arguing about power conduits and thermal exhaust ports. "It's all theoretical until they find it." "It's there," Chief said, his voice unwavering. Cortana wouldn't have missed it. Inside, Cortana's avatar was projected at the center of the holotable, surrounded by the galaxy's most brilliant rebel technicians. She was cross-referencing the stolen schematics with Imperial procurement orders and construction logs she had stolen weeks prior. "It's a design flaw, but a deliberate one," she explained, highlighting a complex network of energy relays. "The architect, Galen Urso, built a vulnerability into the reactor core's chain reaction initiator. A precise concussion blast to this specific thermal exhaust port, a shaft only 2 meters wide, will travel directly to the main reactor and trigger a catastrophic overload." One of the technicians, a Duros, shook his head. "It's a 1 in a million shot. The port is ray-shielded, and the trench leading to it is a kill zone for starfighters." "It's the only shot we have," Cortana countered. "And it's not 1 in a million if you have the right pilot and the right gunner." The doors to the lab slid open. Leia and Riekan entered, their faces grim. "The Empire is mobilizing," Leia announced. "Our spies confirmed the Death Star has left the Scarif system. Its first operational target is Yavin 4. They know it was our primary base. They're coming to wipe us out." A cold silence fell over the room. They were out of time. "We have the flaw," the Duros technician said, pointing to the schematic. "But we need a battle plan." All eyes turned to Master Chief. He had moved to the holotable, his gaze fixed on the Death Star's rendering. "Cortana, simulate the attack run." The hologram shifted, showing a swarm of X-Wings diving into the Death Star's equatorial trench. TIE fighters swarmed them. Turbo laser towers filled the space with lethal fire. "It's a slaughter," Riekan murmured. "It is if you fight it like a standard fleet engagement," Chief said. "You can't. This isn't a battle. It's a surgical strike." His finger traced a path on the hologram. "You don't send all your fighters? You send one squadron? The rest are a diversion, drawing the TIE fighters away from the trench." "And the turbo lasers?" Cassian asked. "They're fixed emplacements. They can't track a small, fast target moving parallel to the surface. The trench itself provides cover." He zoomed in on the exhaust port. "The shot requires a proton torpedo. It has to be a direct hit. No margin for error. It's still that 1 in a million shot, the Duros insisted. Chief turned his head, his eyes locking with Leia's. Not for me. The plan was set in motion with desperate speed. The entire base evacuated to the Massassi temples on Yavin 4th, the rebellion making its final stand at its oldest sanctuary. As the Death Star emerged from behind the gas giant Yavin, a palpable wave of dread washed over the moon. The battle station was a dark moon of death, its super laser focusing for the kill. In the crowded war room, Mon Mothma and the Alliance leadership watched the tactical displays, their hopes pinned on a handful of starfighters. Chief stood beside them, but his mind was elsewhere. Cortana, are you ready? Linked directly to Red Leader's targeting computer, her voice confirmed in his ear. I can calculate the shot, but I can't pull the trigger. It has to be the pilot. In the cockpit of Red 5, a young farm boy from Tatooine named Luke Skywalker listened to the calm instructions from a familiar, synthesized voice through his comm. I am Cortana, UNSC AI. I will be your firing solution guide. Follow my vector markers exactly. The Battle of Yavin began. X-Wings and Y-Wings screamed toward the Death Star. As Chief had predicted, the TIE fighters swarmed the main group. Darth Vader himself led a flight of TIE Advanced, cutting through the rebel squadrons with terrifying efficiency. Red Leader, you are off course. Adjust 3 degrees port side. Cortana's voice instructed calmly in Luke's ear. I'm hit. I can't stay with you. Biggs Darklighter's voice cried out, then turned to static. The rebellion was being torn apart. In the war room, General Dodonna watched in horror. We're losing too many. They'll never make the run. Chief's hand rested on the console. They will. Cortana, update the firing solution. Factor in Vader's pursuit. On the screen, they saw Vader's TIE closing in on Luke's X-Wing. I can't shake him. Then, a miracle. The Millennium Falcon, a battered freighter, dropped out of nowhere, its laser cannons blazing, scattering Vader's wingmen and forcing the Sith Lord to break off. The shot is now available, Cortana said, her voice still impossibly calm. Luke, target the marker. The Force is not required for this. Trust your instruments. Trust me. In the trench, Luke switched off his targeting computer, relying on something else, a whisper in the Force, and the precise, mathematical certainty of an AI from another universe. Use the Force, Luke, came the ghostly voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Cortana seamlessly added, the vector is clear. The solution is optimal. Fire now. Luke Skywalker fired. The proton torpedoes streaked away, curving perfectly into the exhaust port. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then, a chain reaction of explosions began to bloom deep within the Death Star, crawling across its surface like fiery veins. The war room erupted in cheers, hugs, and disbelieving laughter. The Death Star shattered into 1,000,000 flaming pieces, lighting up the Yavin system with its death throes. Mon Mothma turned to Chief, tears in her eyes. You did it. You gave us the key and the plan. Chief watched the explosion on the screen, the light reflecting in his eyes. It was a victory, a necessary one. But he saw the cost. He saw the names of the dead pilots scrolling on a secondary screen. The Empire is wounded, he said, his voice cutting through the celebration. Not defeated. He turned and walked from the war room, leaving the jubilant rebels behind. In a quiet corridor, he spoke to the empty air. Cortana, status. The Death Star is destroyed. The rebellion has its first major victory. She paused. But you're right. The Empire still controls the galaxy. Palpatine and Vader are still alive. The mission continues, Chief stated. Scarif was an extraction. Yavin was a defensive action. He looked out a viewport at the stars, at the vast, tyrannical empire he had vowed to consume. Now, we go on the offensive. He had given the rebellion its hope. Now he would teach it how to win a war. The legend of the Master Chief had been born in fire on Tatooine, forged in the data cores of Scarif, and proven in the trenches of the Death Star. The galaxy was now on notice. The Empire had built a weapon to rule through fear, but they had never faced a Spartan. The destruction of the Death Star sent a shockwave through the galaxy, a tremor of hope where before there was only the grim certainty of Imperial rule. On 1,000 worlds, in 1,000 cantinas and secret meetings, they spoke of Luke Skywalker, the farm boy who fired the shot. But in the hushed, strategic circles of the Rebel Alliance, they spoke of another name, one spoken with a mixture of awe and unease: the Master Chief. He was the variable the Empire had never calculated, the unbreakable soldier who had stolen their greatest secret and then helped shatter their ultimate weapon. He had not joined their rebellion, he had weaponized it. But for John-117, the victory was a tactical milestone, not an end state. He had seen the Empire's core weakness, its reliance on overwhelming force and psychological terror. It was a blunt instrument, and blunt instruments could be broken with precise, relentless strikes. With Cortana as his strategist and the rebels as his new, if unwieldy, force, the campaign entered a new phase. The Galactic Civil War was no longer a desperate struggle for survival. Under the Chief's influence, it was becoming a war of systematic consumption. He identified key Imperial supply depots, communication hubs, and shipyards, and he taught Rebel strike teams how to hit them with Spartan efficiency, maximum impact, minimal exposure. He didn't just fight their battles, he rewrote their doctrine. The Empire, in turn, learned to fear the green armor. Darth Vader's singular focus intensified. The humiliation at Scarif and the loss of the Death Star, forging a personal vendetta that would shape his actions for years to come. The Emperor himself took note, sensing a disturbance in the Force that was neither Jedi nor Sith, but something cold, logical, and utterly relentless. The galaxy had been forever altered. The rebellion now had not just a symbol of hope in Skywalker, but a spearhead of victory in the Master Chief. The war for freedom continued, but the tyrants who sought to extinguish it now faced a soldier who had already saved one universe from extinction and would not hesitate to consume another to do it again.